Well, President Biden pledged in his inauguration speech to repair America's relationship with its allies, one of those likely to be Britain. So I'm joined now from Washington by Dame Karen Pierce, the UK's ambassador to the United States, who attended today's inauguration. Welcome to you. This is always a spectacle. This one, of course, had quite a run-in, didn't it? So it was quite different from any before. But how was it for you?
Well, I was just very honoured to be there. It was a fantastic ceremony. The young poet was amazing, but I think more than all of the individual components, there was a mood lightening in Washington at seeing the orderly transition of power and seeing a unity speech from the new president. And I think after all the events on the Capitol in recent days and the fears that another mob would descend on Washington, I think this was a great antidote to that. It showed American democracy at its best.
The orderly transition of power at last, you could say, couldn't you? I suspect many of us will be thankful for the British system, which is you lose, you're out. Has this doubt, do you think, and the battle about the election result done real damage to America and indeed to democracy?
I don't think it's done real damage to America, to be honest. America has an almost infinite capacity for renewal, and you heard all that in the speeches that were made today. I do worry that countries around the world who might be fledgling democracies didn't get the lesson that we would have wanted fledgling democracies to get from the last few days of the outgoing administration. But I think President Biden and Vice President Harris's focus on the international, focus on America as the leading force for good in the world, and focus on American democracy will restore much of America's reputation and leadership.
Well, I wouldn't normally quote the Daily Star to an ambassador of the realm, but their headline today, well, that was a weird dream in front of a picture of Donald Trump. Is that, or does that in any way sum up for you the Trump era?
No, not really. I was here for the last 9 months or so of the Trump administration, but I also saw it from New York, which was my previous posting. I mean, it's the job of the British ambassador, it's the job of the British Prime Minister to get on with the American president of the day and defend British interests and British values. And that's what we do, regardless of who's in the White House. We're very much looking forward to working with President Biden and Vice President Harris. There is so much to do to get COVID recovery underway and get economies back on track. And we really look forward to being able to cooperate with them on climate, as well as all the bedrock security relationship that we have.
Yes, I'm going to persist with looking backwards before I look forwards, if you don't mind. Unpredictable, attention-seeking, we know. How hard was it for you to get on with Donald Trump and his administration?
Well, there were areas where we disagreed on policy. Iran would be one, climate, tariffs. And where we disagree on policy, we say so, we speak out. We defend British interests. But it is the job of the British ambassador here to get on with the American administration of the day, because fundamentally, regardless of who's in the White House or who's in government in the UK, the bedrock of the relationship, it's a very deep, profound, successful relationship built on security and defence, built on a common culture, and that always carries us through.
So what does your job involve now, you as ambassador? Is it time to get the elbows out, get the attention of the new guys? Does your competitive streak come out, do you think, to get noticed amongst all those other ambassadors who are vying for attention?
It is a bit of a competition. I think that's a fair comment. But at the same time, we all want to cooperate. We all want to support the Biden-Harris administration as they get their agenda underway. For Britain particularly, I'll be concentrating on supporting the Prime Minister and the Foreign Secretary on all the G7 work. That's where we'll be doing the bulk of international cooperation on COVID recovery. And that also involves, looking at technology, bringing bring democracies and technologically advanced countries together. It's great to be able to do that with America. And then we'll be putting a lot of emphasis in the embassy on climate. Britain hosts COP26 with Italy in Glasgow in November. And now that we have a Biden administration ready to come back into the climate agreement, the Paris Agreement, there's a lot we can do together. And then I think the other priority for us immediately is to get a grip of vaccines, to make sure that the World Health Organization is working well to help us learn lessons from this pandemic, help us avoid future ones, and get vaccines around the world to developing countries and others.
Well, we've got a picture of Boris Johnson watching all of this unfold on television back in London. Let's listen also to what he had to say.
Really congratulate Joe and Kamala Harris on their achievement, on their inauguration today. It's a fantastic thing for America. It's a step forward for the country that's been through a bumpy period. And for us and America, it's a big moment. We've got things we want to do together.
You mentioned, obviously, those two big international events which the UK is hosting on climate change and the G7, which will no doubt help relations, also vaccines. You didn't mention a trade deal. There was almost a sense, wasn't there, that Donald Trump was going to be the great facilitator of that. Is it still viable? Is it on the table? Does it go on the back seat, do you think, because Joe Biden is in office and he wasn't such a fan of Brexit? Where do you start with that?
Well, we see the free trade deal as very much a part of COVID economic recovery. You know, to be able to do the deal with America would be a very good sign of confidence in the world economy, confidence between two big allies who are allies and partners on economic issues as well as security. We will have to talk to the Biden administration now they've taken office about the prospects for the free trade deal, how quickly we might be able to progress it, whether or not they would want to highlight certain elements over others. I expect all that to be very amicable. It's what we call a bespoke trade deal, so it doesn't take too much bandwidth to get it through Congress. But I don't want to be presumptuous about President Biden's priorities. We need to talk to them about next steps.
Absolutely. So there have been some unlikely friendships forged over the years. You look back to Thatcher Reagan, Blair Bush. Boris Biden, do you think that will trip off the tongue in years to come?
I think it's true to say that the friendship between number 10 Downing Street and the White House doesn't depend on party political affiliation. And I think it's also true to say that the parties don't match up in the way that people might expect them to. But it's also the job of the British Prime Minister, as Boris Johnson has made clear, it's the job of the British Prime Minister to get on with the American President of the day. It's very much in Britain's interest to have a strong America leading on the world stage, helping tackle all these global and other challenges. And we see our role as burden sharing with that, putting our shoulder to the wheel to try and make progress.